So have you guys been enjoying wearing Toy Boy? This right here, this is a fragrance I reviewed back in September of 2019. Towards the end of last year, I bought my bottle in Florence, Italy, where they were selling this and they were selling this. So what are the differences between Toy Boy and Toy 2? Well, I'm going to tell you all about them coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today we're going to talk about Toy Boy and Toy 2. If you're curious to find out about these, stick around. But if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. That's right, I did a video for Toy Boy late last year in September. I bought my bottle around the middle of September in Florence, Italy, and at the department store there in Florence, I forgot the name, it's an Italian department store. If you guys are in Italy, let me know what the name is. The ladies there told me this is unisex and this is for men, and I wore this and I bought this because I knew this was coming out and I was very excited about it. I had not been excited or this excited about a fragrance from the house of Moschino for a long time. The very last time I wore a fragrance from Moschino was in the late 90s, so it's been a long time since I had worn it. So I smelled this and it was so hot and humid there. I wore it. I went outside, had a cocktail out the square there around that department store, and I loved the way it smelled, so I immediately went back to buy the bottle in September. And towards the end of September is when I shot my review of this fragrance, and I aired it, at the end of September. I shot it in Cannes. But I was always really curious about this one because I wanted, I liked what I smelled. I had smelled them one on each arm, and the lady there said this was unisex and this was for men. But all along I knew that Moschino had another fragrance called Toy 1, which came out in 2014. I'm not sure if that still is in existence, but upon researching online, this is not targeted unisex. This is targeted to the ladies, and this is targeted to men. But both, I feel, are very, very unisex, and both genders can pull both off. This one came out 1 year before this one. This is called Toy 2. As I said, there is a Toy 1, and that one is no longer, at least I can't find it anywhere. But this one was created by Alberto Morillas and Fabrice Pellegrin. Fabrice Pellegrin is a perfumer that's done many, many fragrances for Diptyque, among other brands. But I guess it's a joint creation by both Alberto Morillas and Fabrice Pellegrin, and I'm sure you guys know who Alberto Morillas is. This is considered a floral woody musk or a floral synthetic fragrance. It does act synthetic, but then again, it smells quite nice. I really like it. I get a lot of tea-like qualities in this fragrance, and I think it's coming from the berry notes. But it's 100 ml for 96, same price, 100 ml 96. Both are eau de parfum concentrations. This one has notes of Granny Smith apple, Magnolia, and Mandarin at the top. In the heart, you've got Peony, Jasmine, white currant. That's the note I'm talking about. That's kind of giving me the tea-like quality. And then it has crystal musk, sandalwood, and amberwood. And then Toy Boy was launched in 2019, last year. This one's created by Yann Vasnier. It's considered a woody, spicy fragrance, but I find it to be very fruity and also floral. So I can say floral, woody, floral, fruity. Those are all coming to mind, but there are woody elements in this fragrance. Again, it's a 100 ml bottle for $96. It's eau de parfum concentration once again. Did I say Yann Vasnier? Yeah, it's created by Yann Vasnier. This is got notes of bergamot, pink pepper, pear, Elemi resin, nutmeg in the top. In the heart, you've got cloves, rose, magnolia, flax flower. And then in the base, you've got vetiver, sandalwood, cashmeran, amber, Sykolide. Sykolide is a synthetic molecule that has a smell of musk, amber, and animalic smells lightly. So they've used that here in this fragrance, and very interesting. So when I first wore this, I immediately thought it was very, very fruity. For me, the pear note is very, very amped up, and on me, I bring up the pear note a lot. And in the humid weather in Italy in September, this actually just totally came alive. I did pick up those rosy elements. The rose is pretty prominent, and there are some spicy tinges or touches with that pink pepper note in here. But you know what, this is actually a very, very solid release from a house that I don't usually speak about. It reminded me of some fragrances from Byredo. I don't know why, but there's Untitled or Unnamed there. It reminded me of that, and there are a few others that are in that house that remind me of this fragrance, or vice versa. And I feel like somehow the DNA of Byredo ended up here. I don't know if Yann Vasnier has worked at Byredo or has created any fragrances, but it just really hints at a few Byredo fragrances. But I feel like in the end, there's something thick in this fragrance, a thickness about it, and it has great longevity for me. And it's one that I enjoy wearing, but I feel like it's better in the humid weather. I haven't worn it much now, but I was wearing it all across my travels from Italy to the south of France when I was traveling late last year, well, September and October of last year. So it really did come in handy, and I really enjoyed it. One thing I want to bring up also before we get to Toy 2, somebody had made a comment, and they said in this comment, "Oh my God, you guys did all these reviews for this fragrance, but nobody ever brought up the idea behind the fragrance and the ad campaign." And I did not want to talk about the ad campaign, but if you guys have done a little research, I'm sure you could have seen what the ad campaign was all about. This is actually created by Jeremy Scott, who is the creative director at Moschino. And both of them have kind of like an S&M-ish ad campaign, and this one really leaning very heavily on the gay world, and this one more straight, I believe. It's a woman, but both of them seem like very leathery and kind of fetishy as far as the ad campaigns go. This one a lot more, obviously. So if you're very, very curious, go look up the ad campaign for Toy Boy, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I just decided to leave that particular topic off because in the end, I was really reviewing a fragrance, and I'm not discussing the ad campaign for a fragrance. But now that I've told you about it, have you seen the ad campaign, and what are your thoughts about it, and what do you think about the fragrance? Do you like it? Now, the bottles do look very similar. They really do look alike. In fact, I've put the cap from this one to this and vice versa to kind of change them around, and they fit one another. Basically, all they've done is taken this and then just, you know, made it black, obviously, and there's no changes to the bottle. But the very first toy from Moschino from 2014 is actually a teddy bear. I haven't, you know, held it, but I've seen photos of it, and it looks like it has fur and everything on it. So they've changed it for Toy 2 and Toy Boy. But so what are the differences between these two? I did mention that these are both very unisex to me. In fact, this one comes off very unisex, and this one does. This one leans a little more feminine than this one, but then again, this one is not like butch or anything. It's not like ultra masculine. You don't have like very, very woody experience. You don't have a very like barbershop-y experience. It's not like you're smelling, what do you call it? You know, like a very, very masculine, oudy kind of woody kind of fragrance. It's very, very floral. It's very, very fruity, and it's also synthetic with some of the synthetic notes that they use in here. So I find it to be very, very unisex. I feel like it's right down the middle, just slightly masculine leaning. And same with this one. With this one, you have lots of Granny Smith apple, but then again, I know apples, I love apples, and I always found Granny Smith apples to be very tart. I don't find tartness here, so I'm not sure if really it is a Granny Smith apple or just like a generic apple note that they're using, but it doesn't have the tartness that I'm associated with when it comes to apples here. So you got lots of apples here. The Granny Smith is pretty prominent. The Currant note is also very prominent, and I've never seen or worn a fragrance with white currant, and in fact, when they mention something like white currant along with Magnolia, I feel like they're all very, very like subdued smells. The apple also is a very smooth or subdued smell, almost reminding me of pear, just like the pear that's in here. So the pear, the white currant, the Magnolia has a very, very subdued kind of a smell. Doesn't really jump out at you. That's why I'm getting like a tea-like effect happening in this fragrance, even though there's no tea mentioned. Now it does go a little more floral because of that peony note. I love the smell of peonies. I don't know if you guys ever bought them, but early spring they're usually selling bunches of them, and when you grab them and put them, and you can smell the the bunch or the flowers, they smell wonderful, but they're not very, very strong smells. They're very kind of subdued. Now the overall experience here is very, very subdued. It's not really loud. In fact, both of these, I feel like the scents are very, very subdued, this one being the stronger of the two. But again, it's not like this like really ultra in your face smell. It doesn't kind of jump out at you. They're just very kind of relaxed and calmer smells. But I feel like they're both great quality fragrances, and they're both very, very unisex. So if you have thought about this one, I would suggest you get a sample to try it, or when the store is open and you can go smell in the stores, smell this one and see the difference between the two. They're both very fruity, they're both very, very floral, and they're both very, very musky. This one going or leaning woody a little bit, but then in the end, it's not like your ultra woody masculine fragrance. In fact, they're very unisex, as I said. Just this one leans a little feminine and this one leans a little masculine, but they're really close to the middle where they're both very, very unisex experiences. That's why I thought, this would be a great comparison. What are the differences between these two? Have you thought about this one? Again, this is targeted to the ladies, but I don't find it to be ultra feminine. This is targeted to the men. I don't find it to be ultra masculine. Both sexes should be able to pull this one off. Just the fact that this leans a slight bit feminine, slight bit, and this leans a slight bit masculine, as I said. And the only other thing is the ad campaigns. They're using a woman here to advertise this fragrance. They're using men here to advertise this fragrance. Both of them are very, very kind of S&M-ish, fetishy, kind of leathery ads. They could reverse the sexes, and they would put a man behind this one, and I think men would be wearing this one, and they would put a woman on behind this one, and a woman would be wearing it. So I think in the end, what happens with fragrances is they put a man behind a fragrance, and it's a men's fragrance. They put a woman behind a fragrance, and then it's a woman's fragrance. In this case, it's a very, very fetishy, leather kind of fetish, geary kind of men. But here, I feel like I remember the lady that, I think it's Devon Aoki, the model, supermodel, that's being used in this ad campaign, is also kind of dressed in a leathery kind of attire. But I could be wrong with that one. But in the end, I think that's what I would say about these two fragrances. They're almost like they're offsprings of the same family. They just go in a little different directions. You might have like if you have kids, you might have a son that's got dark hair, and then you might have a daughter that has brown hair. So they're just kind of like that. I feel like the inspirations were kind of similar ideas. They just went in different directions because this one was, after all, created by Yann Vasnier, and this one was created by both perfumers Alberto Morillas and Fabrice Pellegrin. Man, Alberto Morillas does so many fragrances. I feel like he is putting or dabbling in so many different fragrances, and obviously he came up in this fragrance as well. But to me, the way I find out about this one is through this one, because I remember this one. I read an article about this one being launched, and I hadn't even heard about this one. So when I heard about this one, I was anticipating it, and I knew it's an Italian brand. I've worn Moschino fragrances many years ago, and when I was in Italy last September, I went looking for it, and then that's how I discovered this one. So I hadn't even heard about this one. It had launched a year prior, and there that lady told me, this is unisex, and this is for men. I guess she was wrong. Perhaps she was referring to the original toy, which is actually targeted unisex. But this one's definitely targeted women, and this one's definitely targeted men. Anyway, those are my thoughts for Moschino Toy 2 and Moschino Toy Boy. Let me know if you guys have sampled or tested Toy, the original from 2014, and what are your thoughts about that fragrance? When I did my little research, I read that it was more of like an aromatic fragrance with lavender, and it did definitely say unisex. But both of these are fruity florals, musky, woody kind of compositions, and they're kind of, like I said, from the same family, in the same family. But let me know your thoughts. If you are a fan of this, if you are a fan of this, if you are a fan of both, or you hate both of them, let me know what you think about the ad campaigns. Have you looked them up? Have you seen the different, photos for each of the fragrances? Especially this one, because they're a little on the risque side, but they do have the bottle, and there's a little teddy bear in it as well. So check them out. Let me know. And let me know if you've been wearing both of these or just one, because I know this is very, very popular. It's become very popular, and I hear from a lot of people that they seem to like it. So in the end, I guess I was right. When I first bought it back in 2019 in September, I thought this was going to be a great hit. Eventually, it finally hit the stores here. And I think it was like later in the year or even earlier this year is when we finally got this at Macy's and people were starting to kind of like talk about it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys, on these two fragrances. Put some comments down and let me know if you're a fan of this house, Moschino. It's an Italian fashion house. And as I said, I wore a fragrance back in the 90s. It was a mid to late 90s, and I loved those fragrances. They were strong, more intense experiences. Finally, we have some unique fragrances. They're fruity, they're floral, they're musky, they're woody, but they're nothing like what we used to have back in the 90s. Anyway, those are my thoughts today on Moschino. Let me know your thoughts as well. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.